This week's movie, Who Am I? After arriving in England to spend Christmas with my family, I participate in a unique theatre experience. A short time later, I am mistaken for a spy and on my way to stopping multiple assassinations. Stay tuned to find out. You're listening to the Banana Reel Movie Podcast, episode 55. Warning, this show contains spoilers and coarse language, so you've been forewarned. Hey, we're the Theatre Gorillas. My name is Carlos.
And I'm Heath.
And each and every fortnight we get together and we do this podcast, which is the Banana Reel Movie Podcast, if you haven't figured that out already.
Yeah.
In which the title implies we get together and we just discuss movies.
Absolutely.
For this fortnight, we are looking at the recent video release of Warcraft.
Yes, Warcraft, the beginning.
The beginning.
Yes.
It's funny you say that because I thought this was a movie all in itself, like it was self-contained, one movie viewing and that was it, because who knows if they would get the budget to do a second.
And by looking at the effects that they used in it, they spent a lot of money.
I was about to say, this movie uses a bucket load of money on effects.
Oh, yeah.
And I have to say, it's very welcomed.
Oh, look, that's, effects and visuals of this movie, you can't say it's bad.
No, not at all. One thing straight off the bat that I really, really loved about this movie is the use of portrayal of magic.
Yes. Yeah.
It is like not only a light show, but there's something ethereal about it.
Yeah.
Which I really, really dig.
And it's funny that you say that as well, because something that I noticed when I first watched it was it's actually the first kind of fantasy film that I've seen in a very long time, which I thought really did magic well, like in all its forms. Right. You had the shadow magic or the fell magic with the dark magic looking that green and dusty and kind of dark. But then you had, the mage magic where it was exactly like you said, very full of light and color and bright as well. And so it was really great contrast of different power as well.
Well, that's one thing I wanted to ask you, right? So straight off the bat, I've not played World of Warcraft. I've stayed very clear from it. A lot of my friends have played it, so I know.
As I,
So you're one that has definitely played this game.
Yes.
Now I've heard complaints, or not so much complaints, but I've heard people say regarding this movie when it was in cinema, that for an outsider that's never played the game, it's an okay movie. It's interesting, it's entertaining, but I don't understand anything that's going on.
Yes.
Very much kind of like Lord of the Rings was a reference I heard quite a lot.
Okay.
Personally, I've never played the game, and I found the movie easy to follow. I didn't find it difficult at all. I found the lore very interesting, the way they actually incorporate it for people that don't know the background of the game. And I think it's told very cleanly and very smoothly that anyone can really understand. So I don't know. Have you heard the same thing?
Look, I have, and actually, funnily enough, I watched it, with my partner, who she has not seen or played or anything to do with Warcraft, and she did find it at points hard to follow. Right. Mainly because there were little points in it that did, and I actually have to say I noticed it as well, as someone who had played the game. And has played all the games from Warcraft 1 all the way through to, I'm currently playing the latest expansion of World of Warcraft. Yep. There's a lot of stuff in there which they kind of like, I feel, yes, they didn't say what it was directly, but you'd get a lot more out of it if you knew what that was, what was going on. Like, for example, talking about Gul'dan and the curse that he's made on the Orc people and whatnot.
Right.
That's very heavy in Warcraft lore. Like lore is in Lore.
I figured that.
And, I know that, I know as a watcher of it that, he drank demon blood. That's how he got the fell magic, and that's how he became what he was.
But that backstory, is that something that is told to you from the very beginning in the game?
No.
Or you learn it as you play those particular missions?
It's been a very long time since I played Warcraft 1, but I think you found out about it from Warcraft 2.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
See, I remember playing Warcraft 2, but I don't remember anything about it.
Yeah.
I remember when I say I played Warcraft 2, the extent of my playing of Warcraft 2 was essentially play as the orcs and keep pressing on the one bloody unit, listening to what he has to say.
Yeah. Hey, stop poking me.
Yeah, exactly. Right? That's my extent of playing Warcraft. Mainly my brother played it while growing up, and I have very vague memories about it. So the fact that World of Warcraft carries the lore across all the Warcraft games, I think is pretty cool, but I don't know, it doesn't quite do anything for me in regards to the movie. Yeah. So,
but actually, like, so funny enough, okay, so there's one point in the movie where we get to meet Khadgar. Right now, Khadgar.
Khadgar is the young...
he's the young mage that's expelled himself from the Kirin Tor.
Yep.
He's played by Ben Schnitzer. I hope I pronounced his name correctly.
Schnitzer.
And they actually don't say
Mr. Schnitzel.
They actually don't say his name for a small portion of the movie.
At what, the very beginning or towards the end?
At the beginning. So there's at the beginning.
But he introduces himself.
Yeah, but does he?
Yeah.
Shit, I must have been drunk.
He gives his name. Like he specifically says his name
when he's been imprisoned. Well, sorry, when he's in prison and what's his name, Anduin Lothar, who's played by Travis Fimmel, holds him down and says, "Why do you have a mark of a Kirin Tor?"
Yeah, and he explains himself, and shortly thereafter, he actually gives his name.
He does?
Yeah, because he ends up in the presence of the king, and the king, like he demands to see the body.
Yeah.
And then when they realise the fell is at work on the corpse in the barracks, he says, we need to talk to the Guardian because he's best to explain this.
Who is Medivh, played by Ben Foster.
Right?
Yeah.
And then they go to the king because only the king's allowed to summon him.
Yes.
And so he explains himself to the king, but the king's like, who the fuck are you?
And does he say his name's Khadgar?
He says his name. He introduces himself to the king. So... it's from very early on.
I thought it was a little bit later than that.
No. From very early on, he says his name. But then later in the movie, when Travis
Fimmel.
So Travis Fimmel playing...
Anduin Lothar.
Anduin, okay.
Lothar. I keep saying you want to say Lothar.
Being the age that this movie is set in, the names of characters are a little bit tricky to say.
Yeah.
But Anduin, while they're out and about on the field...
Yeah.
He refers to him as a nickname of something. I can't quite remember now. But Khadgar actually gets the shits and he says his name for the second time to reinforce what his name is. And he says, that's my name. Yeah. You know, show me some respect.
That's when I thought it was. That's when I actually thought he first said it.
No, that's not the first time.
See, I thought he said that as my name's Khadgar because he got the shits because he didn't give his name at first.
No, it's not the first time.
Oh, boys and girls, don't watch movies drunk.
It's more exciting. Like we have this conversation.
Exactly right. It's fun.
That's not alcohol, by the way.
It's not. It's just coffee. Standard coffee. Not Irish up at all. I wish it was.
It's funny. I was looking at your camera thinking it was mine.
Let's talk to each other's cameras. Yes. So, because that was the funny part with that was I totally missed that.
Right.
That he introduced himself, but I knew it was Khadgar.
Right. The thing is, being that it's a movie set in that particular setting and era.
Yeah.
Of like kind of, if you're going to compare it to anything, you would compare it to Lord of the Rings,
yeah,
and it would
medieval fantasy style.
Exactly, and it's kind of like the Mid-Earth, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So the names are very eccentric and very hard to pronounce in certain circumstances.
Like Anduin Lothar, I mean, fucking hell.
Tongue twister.
Lane Wren. But it's Lilane, like Lilane, but it's Lane. Yeah, like
right. So the names are hard enough to pronounce as it is. But for example, when Khadgar introduced himself, I thought Khadgar was a place. Like,
I
don't know. This is my criticism, but it's to do with Blizzard because these characters belong to Blizzard.
Yes.
So, and they've tried to create like this full-on realm and world and craziness. That they've just gone, I think, a little bit overboard trying to remember all these character names.
Yeah.
So, but anyway.
So as someone who doesn't, like you said, hasn't played any of World of Warcraft, that has played a little bit maybe of Warcraft 1 and 2.
Vaguely remember.
You found it easy enough to follow.
In terms of the movie, yeah.
Okay.
The movie's fine. Like, the fact that they actually pronounce their names for you, yes. You know, if it was a case of go see blah, 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 but they never actually refer to the person directly, then I wouldn't have a clue who they're referring to.
Yeah, okay.
It's the fact that they actually introduce themselves. It's the only way you remember.
Yeah, sure.
And it's the way it should be. In saying that, I want to talk about the orcs themselves.
Okay.
Now,
Well, that's who we first see.
that is who we first see. And I feel that this movie isn't so much to do with humans.
No, and it's actually funny you say that because I actually felt as I was watching this movie, I felt more sympathy for the orcs.
And I wonder
And that's on purpose, I'm sure.
clearly.
Yeah.
Now, I wonder if throughout like games and throughout other movies and other texts, orcs are always portrayed as creatures of just villainy and evil.
And well, you know,
And it's actually interesting to have a side, like a point of view that is from their side. And in this particular story, yes, they are essentially not evil, but they're essentially they're bloodthirsty.
yes.
But it's more to do with tradition,
Yeah.
which I think is really, really cool that they've done.
Well, they're very much, I think a great way to describe them is like Klingon.
Yes.
Yeah, like they are, because, yeah, you're very much
They're
right.
tribal, they have their customs.
Their codes of honor.
Yep.
Like, you know, when they have the battle, it's like, he has challenged you to this, you must
What is
fight.
it, Mokhtar or something?
Oh, it's which sounds like Klingon.
Yeah, it does to me.
I don't know. Yeah, there we go. But exactly right.
Yeah.
They, Mokhtar. That's like
I'm
they say.
sure Mokhtar's Klingon, but
Actually, no, because you're thinking of Loktar Ragar is what they say as a greeting. Like orcs say as a greeting.
Look, I don't know.
We could have this fucking argument
I
forever.
know. I honestly don't remember what they call it.
Yeah. But anywho, they exactly like I think that's of course unlike in Lord of the Rings, where in Lord of the Rings they're tortured elves.
Yeah.
That's how they were bred. So they're evil, they're villainous, that's what they all are. In this, exactly, they're more meant to be like in Star Trek, how the Klingon is just this, yes, battle hungry, war-mongering
They're a
people,
warrior race.
race, but
They
they're
love the
still,
hunt.
yeah, they're still people.
Yeah.
Like they're still humanized. Exactly. I was going to say humanistic, but I meant humanized in some way.
What I like is that from the beginning, from the very opening of the movie, we find out that the reasons why they're on Earth, and it's not in most cases
Azeroth.
Well, so is Azeroth not Earth? It's not an old form of Earth, like an old country.
I have no idea.
So that they're vague.
They've never in the games. They always just call it Azeroth. It's never called Earth. It's called Azeroth.
So Azeroth, they don't call Earth at all.
No, it's always called. You've got Azeroth.
Right.
Like in the whole world that you've got Azeroth, you've got Durotar, you've got Northrend. Like they're all countries, they're all nations, or like land masses, but it's not called Earth. Like they're on a Earth, but they're not. They never call it Earth. They always call it by Azeroth.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've taken down the line of the orcs and the reasons why they're coming to Azeroth, and straight from beginning, you have this sense of desperation, like.
Yep.
That's what makes them humanized.
Yep.
Is that this desperate need of our home is dead. We need to find a new home, and I have a child. Like I need to find a place for my family when we're following the main character on the orc side, and I found that very intriguing because whenever the orcs were on screen, I felt more compassion towards them than the actual humans.
Yes, absolutely.
And the humans seemed almost cold and bland.
Well, I think that's the funny thing with the humans is that, well, the humans were human. Like they were pretty much just stereotypical, not racist. I don't want to say that because as you see later on, they've got dwarves and gnomes and elves with them. So they're not racist or anything like that to anything that's different or these new creatures. It's just that they still are, they've got those weird ways and they're kind of barbaric.
Well, I think
like
it's
the old medieval humans would be.
Yeah, I find the humans are more so because it's an age of peace.
Yep.
There's an understanding, but they also realize, look, we've got our kingdoms, and these people are outsiders that don't belong here. We're cautious to find out what they're doing here.
Yep.
As you find out when they try and find out, but they're attacked very very quickly and easily, and that's when they realize, okay, we're going to have trouble with these people.
Yeah.
And I think that's fair enough. I think it's portrayed well. I think it's written well enough.
Yeah.
But what I find is that whenever the humans are on screen, unless they're a mage, I don't give a shit.
Yeah, look, it's funny because I actually kind of liked Travis Fimmell's character, like Anduin Lothar, as in, I think even though all he did was play the same character he plays in Vikings.
Yeah, exactly right. And I don't mind that.
Yeah, I don't mind that.
I actually like his character in Vikings, and to see him in a different setting, it didn't bother me one bit.
Exactly right. I was exactly the same. But I kind of did like him. I did like that. Yeah. Except I'm pretty sure he's meant to be a paladin, and they really didn't portray that at all.
You said from the very start, this is Warcraft the beginning.
Yeah, true.
Right,
yeah.
Which is it actually mentioned as such, or is it?
Yeah. Its official title is Warcraft the beginning. Yeah.
Right. So, but I'm pretty sure the title card only says Warcraft.
It does. Yeah.
Okay. So, in this, it's the beginning. So clearly, it's going to be a trilogy.
Well, I'm thinking what I heard. What they were going to do is they were going to do Warcraft 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
So all of the story leading up to
World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Which, I mean, granted, I'm pretty sure then Anduin's going to have to die the next movie.
Well...
Yeah, because he dies in the Second War, which is number 2.
Right.
Yeah.
So... I was going to say, if he's meant to be Paladin, they'll probably introduce it into the second film.
Yeah.
Maybe they... Well, okay. One thing we know from movies in general is that what is written on paper doesn't always necessarily make the film.
No, that's exactly right.
There's time constraints.
Oh, look, and there's massive changes to this, and what actually happens in the game as well.
Yeah.
Like Dalaran being a floating city, that didn't happen until Warcraft 3.
Okay, fine.
So, it's not... They're not going, we're making the exact representation of the exact game.
Exactly
They're
right.
taking liberties and they're doing certain things.
They're just refining it so it looks good on screen.
Exactly right. But yeah, I still think it's pretty cool, the way that they portrayed the orcs in this as well. And they did have little nods, which I liked, when they're leaving their homeworld, which is Outland in the game. They've got the Draenei in cages. So,
I was wondering, they never explained that in the movie. It's not necessary.
It's not necessary. So the Draenei in the game,
right?
Basically they're also from the same land as the orcs.
Right. Okay.
Okay, and they're so similar in not appearance, but they're they look a little bit demonic,
right? Okay,
and whatnot, but they're not.
I imagine it would be something to do with the landscape and the terrain. And
exactly, where they're from and all that stuff. And
environmental factors.
Exactly. And basically when the orcs was doing their, getting their bloodlust, they kind of took them all over and sacrificed them all to open the dark portal.
Right, okay. Now, moving on.
Yep.
I wanted to... Okay, so we touched briefly on magic before.
Yes.
And how, how much sort of effort went into the...
appearance of it?
Effects of it. What I did notice is not a great deal of magic is actually used in the movie. What we do see is certain spells just repeated over and over again.
Yes.
One of which is the teleportation.
Yeah.
Which in the game, I think from vague memory, it's portaling or something.
You've got portals and teleportation.
Oh, it's both.
Yeah, so teleportation you can do as a mage, but it's only a single.
Right.
So if I wanted to go somewhere, I just go bang, teleport. But if I wanted a group to go somewhere, I'd open a portal.
Okay. So essentially it's the same thing. It's just how many occupants are within it.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, so within the movie itself, there's only a handful of spells that are ever used.
Yeah.
And the main one is the use of a portal.
Yeah.
Which I love the effect of the fact that when it's made, it's like this massive sort of platform. And it stays there so long as the person who's making it is holding the object where it's being all channeled into. And the moment they let it go, they're wherever they're going.
Yes.
Awesome effects. I've got to say, this movie with its effects are just fantastic.
Oh, visually stunning.
One point I was going to make before, which I kind of forgot and got sidetracked. I'm going to go back to the magic in a sec. Yeah. I actually wanted to talk about the orcs a little bit further.
Okay.
Now that I think of it. And it's the proportion of their bodies.
Yes.
Did you find it unsettling at all?
I found their hands huge. Like their hands are fucking massive.
Like the audience is perpetually stoned.
Yeah, kind of thing. It's like, whoa, look at the size of my hand.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
right.
you know when he picks up his baby, right?
He could pick up his baby in literally 2 fingers.
Yeah, and he was like, exactly. It was like the size of his finger. I'm like, that's a baby. Like, what's going on here?
How is that tiny little thing meant to be something so ginormous?
Enormous later on. Like, that's fucking massive.
Yeah.
But that's orcs in the game. Like,
Right.
orcs in the game are disproportionate. Like, they're these big, hulky kind of... They're almost like a cross between in proportion to a dwarf, but as tall as but taller than a human.
So if you were to take a dwarf and then give it the powers of the Hulk.
Kind of thing, yeah. A hulked out dwarf.
Right.
Yeah.
That's scary.
That is pretty scary. But yeah, like, because you know how the dwarves as well, they kind of had these big heads and kind of really
Actually,
big arms.
what I loved with the dwarves is that it's an old, like it's very, very Blizzard in the way it's done. But each race is distinctly unique in appearance.
Yes.
So humans look as humans, like there's no changing that.
Yep.
But like, okay, so the orcs are twice as tall as people.
Yep.
They are 3 times as wide. Their hands are basically the size of your face and half your chest.
Yeah, massive.
Which is ridiculous. I think. I just think that the design is just a little bit off-putting, especially when their heads are so tiny.
Yeah.
It's almost like the Goombas out of Mario Brothers.
And from the live action film.
Yeah, that's what I'm referring to.
Yeah.
So it's almost like that, like tiny, like shrunken heads.
Yeah,
like, it's almost just a little bit off-putting, and it took me a long time to sort of look past it. But in saying that, the rest of the races are actually really sort of done really well. Like the dwarves have like their really sunken, wide heads.
Yep.
And it just look like a miniature person, just really hairy. And then you've got your elves, which are kind of like people, but, you know, long, pointy ears. Like,
and I like that their ears, because they do that in the game. Their ears aren't like falcon. They're full-blown fucking like...
They're really pointy,
like
really
this.
long. They're almost antenna.
Yeah.
I love that. And the fact that most of the elves, their eyes are glowing. Like there's something very different about them.
Well, that's actually, in going back to the visual effect factor, the glowing eyes, they had that going with like the mages of the Kirin Tor, like the powerful ones.
Yeah.
With their glowing eyes with the fucking like mist and energies coming out of them.
Yeah.
Fucking so good. It looks brilliant.
They put a lot of effort into it. And
a lot of effort.
I have to say, when it comes to magic in a movie, this is coming very high up there for me because I'm all about the fantasy, right?
Yep.
So there's not a great deal of movies that sort of really tackle magic to such an extent. I mean, you have the Harry Potter movies, but even then, a lot of the magic battles are very, very tamed until the last couple of movies.
Yeah.
And you do get a battle in those 2 movies that finally kind of pay off, but not really.
Yeah.
And in this is so much more satisfying, particularly when the Guardian becomes involved and he is keeping an eye on the king, and he sends that it's I think maybe the 3rd or 4th actually different spell he uses, which is the lightning barrier.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Loved it. And like all his uses of magic are brilliant. Like I just really, really enjoyed them. We're just kind of going back into what I was saying about the spells. In total, there's only like maybe 4 spells used, right? But every time they appeared, they were just so well done.
Yeah.
It's like, I want more. I really want more.
I actually really liked it when there was when we really first see an encounter with the orcs. Because you know how we saw, we heard that they were being places were being attacked.
Yeah,
but we never
went
really
to
saw
investigate.
an encounter.
Yeah.
And when you had, King Lane and you had Anduin all there. And I think an orc was about to do something and you just see that fireball hit him.
Yeah.
And I thought that was fucking sick.
What I loved in particular is that even Khadgar, is that his name?
Yes, Khadgar.
Tongue twisters, honestly.
Yeah.
Khadgar is, even though they refer to him quite often as he's potentially going to be the next Guardian.
Yeah.
Like straight off the bat, they hold no bar on that. It's like they're teasing that, you could potentially take my spot.
Yeah.
As the Guardian says to him on many occasions.
Yeah.
But it's not your usual story of,
well, he's got some training, but he left, so he's not that good. And he's going to have to learn a few spells. No, he holds his own.
Yeah. But see, the funny thing is we don't know that he didn't complete his training. And that's actually something as well. They don't tell us. We just know that he exiled himself.
Yeah, he left. He had a disagreement of the way they were doing things.
Yeah, and he left.
Or for whatever reason, he left. He hasn't disclosed exactly why.
Yeah.
But what I love is that...
That's for the next movie.
Is exactly that. Because there's that non-disclosure,
yeah,
they can make him as powerful as they want, really.
Oh, exactly right.
And that's what I love. It's not a case of, like, for example, with the Sorcerer's Apprentice, where he has to learn his powers, and in the end, he's a pretty shit magician.
Yeah.
And all the good magicians are somehow being taken out by him because he knows science.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck, man, come on, really? Whereas this, like for example, with Sorcerer's Apprentice, there was the notion of modern day mixing in with magic and how it can kind of work together.
Yeah.
And there is a bit of that tease. Nothing really pays off, and it's such a shame. Whereas this, he holds his own. He gives just as much back, and that's what I love. He may not be as powerful as the Guardian because they clearly show that he is miles ahead.
Yeah.
In his training, but he still is not afraid. Like he will dish it back.
Yeah.
And that's what I love.
No, he does. And that's exactly it, where when they do show off the magic as well doesn't look like, in Lord of the Rings, all I wanted to see was like some Gandalf do something amazing.
Yeah.
And the best you get is him making a big shining light out of his...
You shall not pass.
Well, even before, like I'm talking about, like I think it's in the third film. Like he's riding towards the dark things and he's got his shining light, and it's like, yes, I'm shining the light.
Yeah, the ray of hope.
The ray of hope, and it's like, okay, thanks. Like, where's your fucking lightning bolts and shit like that?
I found with the portrayal, and I'm sure it's the same in the books or similar.
Yeah.
But I found with Gandalf and his portrayal of magic is being one with nature, essentially. And I mean, like, being trapped on Sarazar's tower.
Saruman's
tower, sorry. What the hell am I thinking? Yeah. Anyway, being stuck on his tower, like, you're expecting him to do something, but his staff has been taken away. But he sees a butterfly, catches it, talks to it, and then later a huge freaking eagle comes out of nowhere and saves him.
Yeah.
So, okay, like, they're showing he has abilities in other ways that you kind of aren't expecting. Yeah. And you're right, there's that payoff that just never happens in Lord of the Rings.
Where in this, exactly right, they're putting up shields, they're telling massive teleportation, which is done very, very well. They're doing fireballs, they're actually doing... Oh, and the film, for me as well, look at the film magic was great.
The film magic was interesting because he was the character... I can never remember the character. Gordon, right. So he's been corrupted by this evil magic. And he's using it as ransom against other people.
Yes.
And anyone he has bestowed power onto, he controls.
Yes.
And
because that's what it corrupts.
But what I find interesting is because he's the one that's given it to them, he has control over them.
Yeah. So it's because it's shadow magic. Right. Like it's basically it's dark magic and all that stuff. But yeah, so what he did, it's when he gave it to them, it's because he's basically the all-encompassing power of it. So they're more enthralled to him. Right. So it's kind of like, Dracula putting people under his thrall. It's kind of shit like that. Right, okay. So that's what it was. Like that's what they were portraying it as well. It's like by him passing that magic on, it meant they would fight for him. Well, it wasn't just
that. Whenever they not betrayed him, but whenever they sort of stood their ground against him, they were quickly thrown down because he would, like, well, for example, there was a couple that didn't want to do his bidding, and what he ended up doing was...
Yeah, you had like Ogrim and Durotan.
Well, no, others that actually were given the fell. Yeah. And when they're not happy with what's going on because Durotan is trying to make a point, and Durotan is killed in the fight, and that one or two, there's a couple of them that they're like, no, you know what, we're done. Yeah. We're done, you're dishonorable. whatever. And as they walk away, he takes their life because he controls the fel that's within them.
Yeah. Oh, no, he also can drain life.
Yes, I know he can drain life.
Yeah.
But the fact that he controls the fel within them.
Yeah.
That's what I found interesting is that the only reason he's in power is because he's enticed these people like a drug.
Yeah. And that's actually the thing as well. See, I don't think they explained that very well either.
It's the way I found that to be is that, and it's only once again through the compassion of seeing the orc side of things.
Yeah.
And it's when Durotan is talking with his best friend who later betrays him.
Yeah.
But before that betrayal happens, is that when they're on top of the mountain talking about Gul'dan, talking about how big scary horny dude has corrupted the land. Well, he's got horns out of his back, man.
Yeah, okay.
So
I was like, you mean like he's a big scary and he likes stuff.
No. Anyway, so he's corrupted all the land.
Yeah.
And they're talking about how, do you remember how there was fields and animals and everything and we used to chase and hunt? Where's that all gone? Everywhere he goes, things fucking just die.
Yeah. And see, that's once again, I mean, they kind of did explain it because you remember when Medivh said, it's fel magic, it comes with a price. The price is life.
They mention it several times. And then also in that conversation, they say, like, he doesn't seem to be able to stop himself. Like,
yeah, exactly. Because it corrupts. You don't use fel magic, it uses you kind of thing.
Yeah, like its whole enchanting is that it gives you something in return.
Yeah.
But it's going to consume you.
Yeah, exactly right.
It's an addiction.
And that's where, see, with the, like, you know how you were saying with the addiction and stuff like that, like a drug, because that's the whole thing I don't think they really explained. And maybe it's because they're not going to explain it till the next movie. I don't know. So the big part is how he got that was because he drank demon blood. He was given demon blood, right, from a demon on an outland from the Burning Legion. And then what happened was he then passed that on to the orcs. He's like, if we drink this, we can take over, we can be all powerful and all this other stuff.
Right.
And that's why, so basically, that's
you're
what they're
talking about,
addicted is.
You're talking about Gul'dan.
Gul'dan. Yes.
Horny dude.
Yeah.
Right? So you're talking about Mr. Horny Dude.
Mr. Horny Dude, yeah.
Drinking demon blood to get that power.
Yes.
Right.
And then he kind of passed that on
to the other
orcs, and then that corrupted them and gave them the bloodlust and made them more violent.
Right.
And it also made them kind of under his control.
Okay.
But it's basically like he shot him up with a shit ton of meth.
Right.
And now he's the guy for the fix.
Yeah.
And so that's why they're willing to follow him.
So he's the Pablo Escobar.
Exactly right. Yeah.
So I'm just going to call him Pablo Escobar now.
Much easier than Gul'dan.
Yeah. So Mr. Pablo Escobar. So he has.
But they didn't explain that in the movie.
No,
that's me bringing in all the stuff I know from the games.
The only reference to a demon is that the fel, someone on our side on Azeroth has given them the keys to come across.
Exactly, which we find out is
we need to find this demon and kill him.
Yeah,
it's the only mention of a demon, and then you find out later, spoilers, that it's the Guardian. The Guardian has been corrupt, and at some stage he showed them how to get here.
Yeah.
Without realizing, like at some point, being corrupt and drunk, basically, having a bender of a night, he doesn't remember doing some stuff. But as he sort of starts to realize that he is corrupt, it's like as if the walls are being broken down. Yeah. And the effects on him actually transforming, really cool. Yeah. Really dug that.
That's very much like, old corruption of the Sith.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. In a more undead zombie way.
Yes. Yeah.
So you've got two battles going on, right? So you've got the orcs and the king and his men, and then you've got the battle against the Guardian with Lothar and the young mage.
Yep.
And so in that battle, right, so you got them, they're like, okay, we need to get rid of the king, the Guardian, and he's doing the enchantment to keep the gate open. We need to stop him. We need to get his attention, whatever, blah, blah, blah. At some stage, the young mage, just out of nowhere, says, get him inside the pool and get the demon to come out. And it's like, how do you know this? there's been no reference to the demon before except that, oh, there's a demon helping them, we have to kill it.
Yeah. And now it's like the demon's in him. Yeah, I know, exactly.
Where's the explanation?
Yeah. And that's, I think, is part of it as well, because it's like, obviously we know he went over there and got corrupted. And also...
No. I don't think they ever have any inkling of information regarding that he went over there in the first place.
Oh, he says he does.
Does he?
Yeah.
Because I don't remember that. Just like you missed...
Because remember, he's talking to Garona, the half orc, half human, and he actually says how he goes, "I once went to your world," and
I must have missed that conversation,
because it's actually also the point where we find out that he has to be Garona's father.
Do you think so?
Well, how
he does mention being in love.
He went over there and he fell in love with one of her kind. He's the only human that's ever been over there, and she's a half human, half orc.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
It's got to be. Otherwise...
How else does it work?
How else?
The only thing I can think of is maybe, because they don't exactly say she's half human. She just looks human.
Yeah. Actually, I'm going to talk about something else in a minute as well. Keep going.
The other thing I can think of is that the first race we see that are all being used to open the gate.
The blue ones, the Draenei.
I reckon she could be half that.
But remember, she can speak Common. Because remember, they don't call it English, they call it Common.
But she speaks every language.
Yeah, but how would they have been able to speak
Which they never
Common?
explain that either. That's like some mystical gift that she just happens to have.
Or because she's like obviously a slave over there, she's probably...
Yeah.
She's probably had to... they probably used her as an envoy.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. A few things are not explained in this movie which don't exactly hurt it.
Yeah.
They just make things a little bit more difficult to kind of understand. Like, I never put two and two together. It's obvious you pointing out that she is potentially his daughter.
Yep.
But they never really explain that.
No.
And they don't make an effort to connect the dots a little bit more so for the general audience.
That's me kind of making the assumption because it makes sense.
It does.
But... yeah, it's never actually explicitly said.
In his vagueness too, though, when he's talking about he went to a far land, I never once suspected that it was that he went to the orc world.
Yep.
And I mean, it makes sense in terms of the game and the story of the game, and then in telling this story where they've left that information out, and you're having that knowledge, you can piece that together.
Yeah.
But for someone who has never played the games or doesn't remember them for that lore, for me, the information that he's giving is that he's just gone somewhere in the land of Azeroth, somewhere else in his travels, and he's met someone else, other people. But what I'm getting at is that where did he meet the demon? Like, they never sort of explain that he traveled to the other side. There's no reference really to that.
Yeah, no, and there is no reference as well to it's like, is it the Burning Legion? Did the Burning Legion come and...
But there's no mention of the Burning Legion either.
Well, that's exactly right. We just know it's a demon. Like, that's exactly it. And we're like, well, a demon of what? And that's what it is. It is the Burning Legion who put all these pieces together to have this war begin and all that shit. I know that from Warcraft 3.
And that's I think the only criticism to this film as what we were hearing from people that have not seen this movie is have not played the games that have seen this movie. And it's that there's those little bits of information that if you are massive fans of the game, you will understand and put together for yourself. Doesn't necessarily damage the film, but it does leave a question or two.
It does.
But it's easily forgotten. I'm pretty much right. Is there anything else you want to add before we close off?
Yeah, just before we do, like looking at the graphics of this game, that's how much I'm talking about, of this movie. So with the CG, they did make all the characters look, very interesting, very different. But then you've got the orc women.
Ah, yeah.
Okay, so the orc men, big, hulking, powerful-looking creatures.
Yep.
The orc women, like the full-blood orc women, still quite tall, quite big,
They're still very, very much shorter than the men.
Yes, and also...
And not even framed close.
No, and in their face, though, looked a lot more human.
I found, well, surprisingly enough, the orc men I found more human than the women.
Yeah.
I found the women to be more animal-like in nature. It's just the stubbiness of the nose.
Yeah.
The teeth are very tiny and dainty. Like,
yes, compared to the men who are like got fucking piercings through them.
Yeah, like it's. I suppose if you were to look at it in a particular way, it's kind of like bulls and cows. It's probably the closest sort of
comparison
I can think of.
Yeah.
Like the men, the orc men are almost like centaurs.
Yeah.
Just not so much bull, just tusks really.
Yeah.
And the women are kind of like the really demasculated version of them, but they're just as fierce.
Yeah, and they're not portrayed as being weak.
No, not at all.
Like,
not
you
at
know,
all.
even when, you know, she came through, like she's there, she's pregnant, and she's like, as if you're going without me.
Well, there's the scene where she's trying to save, much like in the vein of the story of Moses.
Yes, which I fucking said that the moment she put him out there. I'm like, it's Moses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So much in the vein of the story of Moses, she's trying to save her baby.
Yeah.
When the orc comes to kill the baby,
Yeah.
or take the baby from her, she's ferocious as anything. Like the way she kills him is biting the jugular.
Yeah.
For a moment, I thought she was going to get poisoned by the fell.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the orc women, yeah, definitely. It's like two different shades in a character design.
Yes.
Very different.
But still, yeah, like you said, still strong, still orc, just a little bit different. Yeah, it's odd.
They're almost a different species.
Almost, yeah, exactly right. And but then of course I did like that the half human one had to be, you know, quite attractive for an orc person.
Well, I suppose they just need someone for the lead character to.
Yeah.
Did you find that weird that suddenly she has this this attraction to Lothar?
Yeah. I was a bit like,
and out of nowhere.
Hello.
Like it didn't seem justified to me.
I think it's because they're both warriors, and she, you know, once she's all like in that warrior, she's been raised by warriors, for God's sake.
I don't know. She's had like the classic. I need to be tough because of where I've grown up.
Yeah.
Being an orphan practically.
Well, yeah, and also being
outsider.
a second-class citizen as a you know, a freak.
I don't know. Like I just feel it's a little bit left field to suddenly have that sort of relationship.
Yeah. I actually think it is in the game, like in the lore, but I'm not too sure.
Well, if it is, I don't think they did a good job of actually portraying the attraction.
Yeah.
Because out of it's only when his son dies that suddenly she has this interest in him, but it's almost out of pity, which to me doesn't seem like that relationship definitely wouldn't work. Like,
and his son being in it and dying, I was a bit like,
that was
really
very
care.
Disconnected as well.
Yeah, I was a bit like, I don't care.
Yeah, it's like, really? He was your son?
Yeah, I didn't really get it.
No, I didn't feel it.
Yeah.
I didn't feel it at all. It was like it was kind of hammed in there at the last moment. I don't know. Anything else?
No, I think that's it.
Okay, so I'm going to start because clearly you've got the history behind it, so you're going to have a little bit more to say with this,
sure,
I think. For me, I've said it throughout this discussion, the effects on the magic are just spectacular. That alone makes me want to go back and see it over and over again. The compassion to the orcs really had me engaged for the majority of the movie, even with the half orc, half, let's say, human character. They really draw you in. The culture that they're from is just so unforgiving that they're trying to find peace in what's become a race of just mindless zombies for war, really. It's kind of like a war machine that's their race has become, that they're trying to find something better for. And because of that brings a lot of compassion. It's an interesting story. But like I said before, the human side of things, it's very bland and it's not very engaging. The only engaging moments is actually the young paladin or the young mage who is investigating the fell and finding all these clues and even meeting another ancient, powerful sorcerer or sorceress that gives him more information. That we completely missed that bit, but that was interesting. Like, it was like as if that character was also corrupted by the Fel and trapped herself in a prison. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
It's when he goes back to his academy.
Yeah, back to Dalaran.
And he's talking to the officials, and then they take him into a room.
Yeah.
The room has this floating cube-like thing.
Yeah, it's there.
And when they mentioned the Fel and the name of the what the parchment had, ask about whatever it was.
Yeah.
It stops and opens. And then he goes inside. Inside is another sorceress who, by the looks of things, has encased herself because she's been corrupted by the Fel as well.
Okay. Oh, shit, I do remember now. Yeah. And then she gives it the information about what happened, and okay, I'm remembering.
Right?
Yep.
So, in saying that, like, the only interesting parts with the humans was whatever he did in investigating. That's it. Like, the rest of the story with the humans is very bland.
Yeah.
So in saying that, I think that's where the movie kind of falls apart. But it's a really interesting story about slavery, in a sense, with the orcs. So in saying that, the effects are great. There's definitely a lot of money being thrown into it. If you haven't seen the games, it doesn't really matter. If you're having trouble with the names, like I am trying to remember it, it doesn't break the flow of the movie. The characters are still referenced enough to understand who is who. Just if you have troubles on the first viewing, just watch it again, honestly. I think it does deserve a second viewing just to understand the little intricacies of how deep the story really is. In saying that, because I find the human side of the story is actually quite bland, I'm going to give this a 3 bananas.
Okay. Look, actually, while I'm doing this, do you mind actually just quickly looking up box office and money spent?
Sure.
And I'll go on with mine. So basically, I found that, I don't know, I think watching it, I felt like I had to use a lot more of my background knowledge to understand what was going on. Like, I know who Khadgar is and who he ends up being. I know Medivh's role in bringing the orcs to Earth. I know all of that. So for me, a lot of it, I was like, oh yeah, I could. Maybe it was because I knew it that I was anticipating what was going to happen. And I didn't connect with it as much because I was expecting to be shown and not as much of me having to use that background knowledge. Or maybe it just happened organically. But when it comes to how the movie looked, I thought that the movie looked amazing. I thought the orcs were portrayed very well. I did find it interesting, though, that you had the obviously corrupt ones were green and the not so corrupt ones were a different shade.
Yeah.
I thought that was funny.
I found that confusing at first, but once they described that the green ones are the ones infected with the Fel, it essentially came down to a story about color.
Yeah.
Blue magic is good, green magic is bad.
Yeah, exactly right. And then so you had that, but still it worked and it made it as a really easy visual point. I did like the orc story. I actually felt very compassionate towards the orcs. I'm not worried about them, but I was, you wanted them to succeed. You wanted Duratan and you wanted Ogrim, I'm pretty sure it was Ogrim. Anyway, you wanted those ones that were uncorrupted to be safe and have somewhere to live.
Ogrim.
See, there we go. I'm even having trouble with it. Actually, Ogrim's his grandson, who's the current Horde chief. Anyway, anywho, that, but that's neither here nor there, but I was kind of going for them, which was really good. I did, though, whenever the humans were on, didn't really care as much.
Yeah.
I didn't even mention, though, I did like, you had Dominic Cooper in it, who's absolutely fantastic, but at the same time, didn't really care about any of the human characters. I was more into the orcs than anything else. I, too, am going to give this 3 bananas.
3 bananas. All right. Okay, so I looked up what you asked me to do. What would you like to know?
What was the production cost?
Budget. Okay, budget is 160 million.
Okay, so that's not... Okay, so let's say that doesn't include marketing. Let's say jack it up to about 300 million with marketing.
Generally, you double that, and that is just your marketing budget.
Yep. So let's say 320 million.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
How much did it make?
It made worldwide or domestic?
Worldwide.
Okay, so worldwide it made $433 million. $433.5 million.
Not a big profit.
No.
Not bad. Not, nothing to sneeze at, but not exactly.
No. But in terms of just production, like if you take the production costs of $160 million, it's just scraped through. Actually, with marketing on top, it's just scraped through, really.
Yeah. So will it be enough to get a second movie?
Fuck oath, it still made a profit.
Yeah.
Still made a profit. Maybe not as much as they hoped, but don't forget, that is just box office.
Yeah. So then we got to wait for DVD.
That is the first, 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
Yeah.
In figures. So that is maybe a little bit more in figures, but then you've got your DVD online and Blu-ray releases.
Yep.
So that is probably going to be a much larger revenue. And considering that in order to watch this movie, I had to buy it.
Yeah. Could
not rent it. So, and probably won't be able to rent it for a little while. So in that period, they know that people want to see this movie, and they do that in general with new releases like this. And it drives me up the wall because the only way you're going to see it is if you pay for it to own it. So there you go. Like, it's a huge chunk of change.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, yeah. And if you just get, so many people paying how much, $20?
No, well, to purchase was 14. It was generous.
Okay, so $14. Get enough people doing that. That's going to raise you some coin as well.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, fair enough.
We're considering generally if you want to rent it, it's $6. So it's at least double.
Yeah.
So anyway, all right. In saying that, you can reach us, before we go, you can reach us on the various usual places.
Social medias, the Facebook, the YouTubes.
Facebook is just search for Theatre Gorillas. Twitter is @TheatreGorillas. Email, if you ever want to email us, it's theatregorillas@gmail.com. And of course, our website, theatregorillas.com. I was about to say at something.
It's theatregorillas at the at. Oh, I'm broken. In saying it must be my appendix.
In saying that, it's all spelt the UK English way. YouTube, just search for Theatre Gorillas. And do, of course, tell people about us if you enjoy what's going on.
Do the shares.
Yeah, do the shares, like, subscribes. Anyway, stay tuned for the end of the theme song if you want to know what this week's movie, Who Am I, is. And other than that, we'll see you in a fortnight. All right.
Ta-ta for now.
All right, so you stayed on to find out what this week's movie, Who Am I, is. And the answer is The Man Who Knew Too Little.
Starring the great Bill Murray.
How many Bill Murray movies have we done so far?
As a Who Am I?
Yeah.
Not many.
Not many?
Groundhog Day.
Oh, fucking knew that was coming. So this movie came out in 1997.
Yep.
To be honest, I don't really remember this movie all that much.
It wasn't his finest.
No.
It wasn't bad.
Was this around the time he's just suddenly disappeared?
No, you remember actually it was during that little resurgence he had?
Right.
So you had kind of Scrooge, Groundhog Day. It was like in that 3-year period, or
right.
There was a 4-year period where he just did he was in a shit ton of movies.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like, this was like kind of the arse end.
Right, okay.
What About Bob?
Yeah, I remember those.
Yeah.
Right, so it was that run.
Yep.
Okay, and in this particular movie, from memory, it's a movie that is taking on kind of like a mock-up of The Man Who Knew Too Much.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's very much a tongue-in-cheek movie.
Totally, and it is definitely worth a watch.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, we'll see you in a fortnight, guys.
See ya.
Bye.
This podcast is recorded and produced by Theatre Gorillas, edited by Dan Clark.